Today we're here to talk about burnout. Like I said before, burnout comes in a bazillion different ways, shapes, forms. You can have burnout from a bunch of different things, dealing with people or your job, family, just general stress of the world. So I like to help people with that. And what tends to happen when you're in this burnout state is I'm sure you've noticed it in your life. I noticed it in my life. Sometimes there's times in your life where you're just gaining weight, just a little bit at a time. Sometimes you just lose your energy. Sometimes you just feel disorganized. Sometimes you have sleep issues. Sometimes you just feel older faster. So, can you guys think of a time that showed up in your life?
Well, happily, I can think of one that was the opposite of what you said.
Oh, that's
Um,
exciting.
yeah, since this happened to me, I don't know all the what's behind it, but I have lost a lot of weight.
Okay.
Um, I think the highest I was 216, and I'm at 155 now.
Okay. Okay.
So, and I'm not even sure of what all the ramifications of that. I was in the hospital. It happened 2 days after Christmas. I was in the hospital to New Year's, and then I went to West Penn for PT for 2 weeks. And then I had the PT and the OT people come to me for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But and sleep,
Cool.
man, I love to sleep. It's my favorite thing.
Do you sleep like it's your job?
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes.
I love it. I
A
love it.
lot of days I put in overtime.
That is great. What a luxury. That is a fabulous luxury. All right. So, Jackie, have you ever experienced just like that slow weight gain that just kind of creeps up?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Says I'd like to know how Fran lost 55 pounds. Come on, Fran. Give me some.
I really don't know. It could have
Oh,
been I do have diabetes and I've had that for
okay.
several years. So I've been watching myself. I haven't been so good lately. I was terrible at Easter time getting baskets ready for my grandkids and great grandkids. And one of them had to be shipped away, and I didn't get it shipped early. And I kept buying bags of jelly beans to put in there, and then I didn't get it sent, so I'd eat the jelly beans, and I have to go get another bag. And I was really on a jelly bean binge at
Mm,
Easter time, but I'm past that now.
yeah. Yeah.
What do you take for diabetes?
That's a good question. Um, I had been doing Ozempic once a week,
Okay,
but
that helps you lose weight.
not that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's helped me lose weight. Um, I'm not doing it this year because when I went to order it online, it was going to cost me over $600,
Whoa.
which it would cost me zero. Um, I do Basaglar, and I have a pill, and I'm going to be going from Basaglar to I think it's Lantus. I don't know. It's still in the refrigerator. Um,
Is it
because
injection?
yeah, the Basaglar is an injection, and so
Okay.
is the Lantus.
Okay. That's helpful with weight loss. Those things.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Lantus. It was the
Yeah.
Ozempic, I think, that was, yeah, the booster on
Yeah.
that.
Uh-huh.
All right. All right. So moving along here. So, Brandy asked what an NBCHWC is. That's National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach. So
Okay.
there's a board certification like for doctors and stuff, and it's the same governing body that does that. So yeah, I passed the test. Woohoo!
Ooh. Now you
Was
can put all those letters back behind your name, and people will ask you what they mean.
yeah, alphabet soup, right? Right. All right. So who's this for? This is for pretty much everybody. And my question to you is, you know, why are you here? Why did this particular title of this program spark interest for you?
Well, I think I don't know that it's burnout. it's more lack of discipline, I think. And I use a CPAP. I'm supposed to use a CPAP machine, but I haven't used it quite a while. I think my sleep would be better and I would be more energetic if I got back to using that.
Gotcha.
But it's like I really don't want to spend 12 hours a day in bed every day. And I mean, when I have something to do, I can get up early.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
if there's nothing to do, if I don't have any appointments, I don't have to be anywhere. I turn on the TV and MASH is on in the morning, but then I fall asleep and I don't see MASH anyway.
Oh,
Um,
not good. Do you have any friends you can meet up with?
Right off the top of my head, I'm not thinking of any. I have my niece. She's crossed the river. And she's got a pretty busy schedule. She's retired, and she was my main driver during those 6 months after the seizure that I wasn't allowed to drive. But she's got a busy life, and people here that I know, um, a woman I'm very good friends with down the street, but she goes to work every day, so
yeah.
and we did want to catch up. And I was going to call her to see if she was going to the fireworks, and then I decided not to because it was too bloody hot out there and humid, and I'll just stay here and watch them on the TV. Well, then since that date, I found out that she and her kids were up in Boston for the holiday weekend.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Well,
They're
it seems a lot of my friends have health issues and they're not really able to do anything with me, and it really
Hmm.
stresses me.
Yeah.
There you go. Where do you live?
We live out in Murraysville, Delmont area,
Oh, okay.
past Monroeville.
Okay, I don't want to come see you for the next couple of months
Yeah, I know.
because the bridge is shutting down tomorrow.
That's right.
The tunnel.
Yeah.
That's right.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm in the city of Pittsburgh.
Whereabouts?
It's called Sheridan, but I
Sheridan.
go down to Sheridan. It's not far from the point at all. I go down the street a block and then I'm in Ingram Borough and then comes Crafton Borough and then I head out toward Robinson.
Okay.
Okay. So up by like Carnegie area, that sort of that area.
Yeah, I'm near Carnegie, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm still in this city. It's maybe 3 or 4 miles to Carnegie.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Let's keep it rolling here. So, a little bit of my story. Probably about 15 years ago, I was experiencing all these things over tons of stress, brain fog, weight gain. I think, Fran, you knew me after all of this had happened. And my body was just in survival mode, and
You mean it's been going on for that long?
for me,
Yeah. Well, because I
yeah,
said it was before COVID.
yeah, yeah, I changed everything 15 years ago, which was like
Okay.
2011. Yeah, that's when I saw some pictures of myself. I wasn't too happy about it, and life was kind of falling apart, and I couldn't think very clearly, and super disorganized, and I needed to kind of find something different. So get out of all of these things that I was experiencing because of burnout. So for a lot of people, it's not about being lazy. All right. It's more about that life overloads you. And I'm sure you know people that are super busy in their lives and they got family and they got animals and they got all of these other things that they're trying to take care of. And it just pushes their system to the brink. Because a lot of times they never take care of themselves. They're worried about everybody else. So
Yeah.
what is it particularly? What is burnout? It is basically a protective response to chronic overload from stress, poor sleep, inflammation, and lack of recovery.
I also think in my case, it might be depression
Yeah,
that adds to my, and I take something for it. And I have a counselor. But
good.
sometimes when you're alone, well, a lot of loss in my life also adds to it.
Yeah.
When I was 20, I lost both of my parents.
Oh, wow.
And I have lost 4 of my 5 siblings over the ensuing years.
Wow.
And the one who died maybe about 3 years ago was my favorite. And she lived in Kentucky, but she would come up and we would have a day when we would go. We called it our run amok day, and we would do something. As one summer it was a hot day and we went to the wave pool at Settlers Ridge, and another time we went to Niagara Falls.
Awesome.
So the days were very diverse each year, but so I just really miss her and miss talking to her even.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And it was sudden. She fell and hit her head on the sidewalk and had sustained a brain bleed and died 2 days later.
Oh,
Wow.
So
talk about careful. You know how that works. About careful.
Yeah. Hmm. All right.
I use a cane when I go outside. I don't use it in the house, but I always use it outside because along the way I have had my left hip replaced twice, and I have had both knees replaced. And then with all the rehabbing and getting back into shape after that, my trifecta, I call it, my heart attack, stroke, and seizure. Um,
God.
so I do what I can. And some days it's more, some days it's less.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's continue the conversation with that, maybe another day to see what we can do to kind of infuse some other stuff in your life. So this brings us to the next thing. It's like your body has one job, right? Your body is to keep you alive. That's what it's doing. And Fran, I think you've experienced that a lot along the way, over the last, 7 or 8 years. But, survival always comes first, and your body is always constantly, maybe not fighting you, but it wants you to survive. And
Yeah, I didn't know what was going to happen after that, but happily I turned 80 last year, so
Oh,
I made it to another birthday.
yeah,
that's always good.
yeah.
So couple months to go and I'll be 81.
Whoa.
Nice. Yeah, but survival is always going to come first before optimization. So, I'm sure you know a lot of people that are very stressed, and there's no way they're going to be able to optimize all of the things that we talked about before until they get that stress under control. So, this is the survival loop. I don't know if you guys ever seen this before, but so you have some stress that kicks out cortisol, stress hormone in your body. So that tends to make you more alert. So if you're alert all day and your cortisol's up, that contributes to poor sleep. Generally speaking, and I hear this a lot from clients that I have, when they have poor sleep, they tend to eat more. Sometimes they even eat in the middle of the night. And usually those things are the wrong things. So that leads to inflammation in the body, which leads to increase, fat gain and fatigue. And then this cycle just repeats and repeats and repeats over and over again because we're not taking charge of ourselves in the area of stress and controlling the stress. Because if we control the stress, then some of these other things can start falling into place. All right, so here's why fat loss stops. So we got higher cortisol. Our cells become insulin resistant. Grant, I think you probably know a little bit about insulin resistance. Then that translates into feeling more lethargic. So you tend not to do as much weight training stuff, which causes muscle loss. And then your body's not able to recover. And that just makes this process of losing fat even harder because we're constantly fighting against all of these other things. So brain fog kind of goes hand in hand, with this fat gain thing. So stress affects your attention, stress affects your memory, stress affects your motivation, stress affects your mood, and stress affects your decision making. I remember when I was super stressed, 2010, 2011, I had I had trouble
Yeah,
paying
stress,
attention to details. I had problems with memory.
biggest
I
stress.
didn't want to do very much. My mood wasn't very good. I
I could do it.
probably I definitely made poor decisions. You know, all those things happen when you're, stressed and have these other issues that come along with that stress. So, one thing I've noticed with a lot of the people that I've worked with is sleep really changes everything. Fran, I think you got sleep down pretty good. But when you get,
Yeah, but
when you,
it's very interesting though. When I have something to do early in the morning, I can get up
yeah,
and be alert and be ready and get out there. Um, there's something I've been doing every Tuesday. Unfortunately, it's on hiatus right now because of a move from one location to another.
gotcha.
But yeah, and if I like tomorrow, I'm going to meet some friends at noon. It's her birthday, and so I got to be up and get dressed and go buy her. I'll probably buy us cupcakes or something. They're both trying to lose weight, and I shouldn't eat a lot of sweets, so I just buy little like cupcakes or something. So it's not a massive cake that they're left with for a week.
Right, right.
And so I'll be up early tomorrow because there's something to look forward to. Maybe that
Yeah,
has
Right.
something to do with it too.
yeah. Yeah, and sleep can influence all of these things. It can influence all of your hormones. It can help with recovery. It can help decrease your hunger. It can help with your immunity. It can help with the metabolism. All of those things help with really good sleep. Obviously, the opposite is happening if you don't get good sleep. Your hormones are influenced negatively. You have a hard time recovering. I mean, I use the metrics on my watch to monitor my recovery. And, if I get less than 6 hours sleep, then I already know in my head that I'm not going to have a good night's, or I didn't have a good night's sleep for recovery. And my watch tells me, yeah, you didn't. you need to rest more. So, yeah, having those metrics also helps out. So, in modern life, and I'm sure we all have relatives that spend a lot of time on the screens, get tons of notifications on their phone. We're all exposed to way more artificial light than humans 200 years ago and before ever had. Those people never had processed food, and most of our food is processed. I think you could probably go to one of your friend's house and almost all their food is processed, you know, um, because now you have to make a concerted effort to get whole food. Um, and just the constant stimulation, whether that's TV or the computer or driving down the street, that's stimulation, you know? And we're not designed to handle all of that stress because if you believe in evolution and we've been here for 200,000 years, what percentage of time did we actually have screens, notification, artificial light, processed food, and constant stimulation? Like 0.00001%.
Even in my lifetime, the difference from
Yeah,
1945 until now, I guess it was around 1990 that somewhere in the 90s that computers got to be more common and you had a computer and stuff, but it's just like overwhelming now. I can't think of the word I want, but just the explosion of information and stuff.
right. And for most people, they just think it's normal and they don't know any different. It's just, they don't understand why they're tired all the time. Well, you're in front of a screen all the time, but they don't realize that because nobody's ever told them that stresses you out, whether you think the screen is stressing you out or not. it's stressing you out because it's a type of light that we're just not used to having 24/7.
Because you get aggravated.
All right. So, what do I like to talk about to kind of like get everybody into a different place? Nutrition is obviously one thing. Movement is another thing. Strength training is another thing. Nailing down your sleep for a lot of people, that's something that they need to learn. What is a situation where you have good sleep? Most people don't even know how to manage their stress and what that's all about. Most people don't spend any time in nature. A lot of people don't have good relationships or don't understand or have a purpose in life. So, for me, I love to talk about all of these things because all of these things contribute to a whole person. Back, if we say like 1,000 years ago, you could only eat what you grew, right? There was no like Kellogg's to put things in a box and send to you, right? You had to move all the time to get stuff, whether it's out of the garden or you had to walk. You had to lift stuff to move it around. You had to go to bed and wake up with the sun because there wasn't any artificial light to keep you awake during the night. There's a lot less stress back then. We didn't have screens. We weren't driving around in cars. We weren't constantly bombarded with information. We were in nature all the time. 1,000 years ago, you had to be, right? We didn't have any fancy buildings then. We had to have good relationships with those people around us, or we would not be able to survive. And now we can totally live without anybody and still get everything that we think we need, right?
Yeah, that we think we need. Yeah.
Yeah.
Relationships are definitely important.
Yeah, definitely.
And when you live alone, you realize that more and more.
Yeah.
Nature, my favorite place in the world is Pittsburgh Botanic Garden.
Oh yeah, I remember us talking about that a long time ago.
Because I was there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I haven't not as frequently because of it's like the sustained high humidity and heat and everything. So and now next week I hear the humidity is supposed to drop too. So
that's good.
Maybe I can do more of that. I have been out there once this year.
Good. Awesome. Yeah, so those are some of the things that I talk about and try to frame it up in a different way so people understand why do they need good nutrition? Why do they need movement? Why do they need strength training? Why do they need all of these different things? They feel like they've survived without all the things that I talk about, but are they surviving well? Are they really healthy people? So, getting the nervous system reset, especially for those people that are, have families and they have intense jobs and stuff like that, getting them to work on their breath work and walk a little bit and get sunlight and eat more protein, stay hydrated, work on their strength and their community and recovery. And just saying that like sort of sentence and is overwhelming to some people when they have all these other things to deal with. So taking those baby steps is important. That's why, Fran, we said, okay, well, maybe an hour's too big, 15 minutes, see how that works first. Because it's easy to get discouraged if you try to bite off too much.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So for some people, we need to stop trying harder and we need to learn how to recover better. All right. And all of those 8 things that I talked about are all things that you can do to help with that recovery. And I'm sure you could think about things that really work for you. We've been around for a while. What works for us. I know if I run, I feel a lot better during the day. If I eat food that's actual food and not processed, I feel a lot better than if I eat processed garbage. And my approach is always N = 1. The person I'm working with is an experiment. And for them, the experiment, they only care about themselves. So, what works for Fran? That's the important thing to dig deep into, because what works for Fran isn't necessarily going to work for Jackie. It's not necessarily going to work for me.
I know one thing I cannot do is run. Um, no, that seriously, when I was
Yeah.
12 or 13 years old, I spent 3.5 months in bed in a cast,
Oh, wow.
and I had a sleep deficit, and my left leg does not have full mobility, and just the pounding, for that running would do. So
Yeah.
I can't physically, I can't run.
Gotcha.
I can walk, and I've got walking poles, and um, so
Stuff is walking.
do
Yeah,
what
the
you
walking
can.
poles are good for
Yeah.
good for coordination actually.
Yes.
Not only for balance, but actually for coordination too. So, yeah, so what's the magic formula here? Well, like I said, it really depends on you. But some things that definitely work for everybody is having real food, things that aren't processed, some strength training that looks different for everybody, and it looks different from when we're in our 20s to our 30s to our 50s to our 80s. It's always going to look a little bit different. Walking is something that some people don't do. I'm working with somebody now that their goal is to hit 4,000 steps. And for him, that's a major thing that he has to pull himself away from the computer and actually make an effort to move, because he's always on the computer all the time. So, sleep, defining your sleep, how that does that look? It's going to be different for everybody. Stress reduction. There's different stress reduction techniques that I've worked with different people. Some work for some people, some work for other people, and they're not always, there's not one technique that works for everybody. But what does work for everybody is consistency. And when you're consistent with the real food, with the strength training, the walking, sleeping, stress reduction, that's when things can fall into place. So, a couple of examples. I just got off the phone with somebody earlier today that she had a very high stress job, and she had to wake up super early in the morning, and she got home really late at night. Took her a long time to unwind because it was a stressful job. And I talked to her today. She didn't have to go to work today, and she slept 12 hours, and she felt amazing.
Yeah.
That's an anomaly for that particular person, but
Walk around a little bit, yeah.
that's like one day for her, that amount of sleep, and it really changed. I could tell that she was in a better mood. She was able to do more things. She was, talking more coherently with her, thoughts, and what she had, how she came across and stuff like that. So super important for her. All right. As far as like working out goes, I work with somebody that, he tells me that when he doesn't work out on a consistent basis, then he's super lethargic all the time. When he does work out, he's able to do more things. Right? He spends a lot of time in front of his computer too. But the more activity that he has, the more he can do on the outside of his job and have more energy. And I'm sure you can probably think of times in your life where you kind of had things dialed in and things were working really well for you. And, life was a lot easier, right? You were a lot happier. So, I mean, that's really the bottom line, right? Is to be happy. And nailing down a lot of these health and wellness things helps you get to that point where, okay, well, I got all these things nailed down, my system's in order, and I can live a more enjoyable life. Okay, so your next 7 days. This is what I'd like you to try. Just try one of these things. take a walk every day. It's a little bit hard now since it's like 5,000 degrees. Have a little bit more protein than you used to have, than you're usually having. Get outside a little bit, even if it's just to sit a little bit in the morning. We're designed to be outside and look at the trees and, the birds and the landscape and stuff. So that's good for our mind and our soul. Lift a couple times a week. It that doesn't mean that you're lifting like 1,000 pounds. Maybe it's just something heavy that you have in the pantry that you can carry around for a little bit. It doesn't have to be big. All right. Small little steps. And then for a lot of people, it's reducing screen time. And that really makes a big difference, especially when you're getting close to bed. And why is that? Your phone, TV, all those things that have screens emit blue light.
Yeah.
And blue light signals to your brain that the sun's coming up, basically.
Oh.
And if the sun's coming up, your body's like, yeah, I need to be awake. It's just start of the day. So you're going to bed, you're watching these screens, and your body's like, wait, it's not time for bed. It's time to be awake. So you're sending your mixed signals, to your brain about what time it is. Because your brain can't read a watch or can't tell time or anything like that. It just is based on the clues that your environment gives it. All right. So reducing that screen time, especially a couple hours before bed, will let your body kind of reset that melatonin. So your melatonin starts to increase and your cortisol can decrease so you can get a better night's sleep. So try one of these 5 things and see how that works. Or try them all. All right. So there's a couple things that I have if you're interested. I have a burnout recovery blueprint that I could send you if you'd like. A hormone-friendly nutritional guide. So hormones are like ghrelin, like the hunger hormone, cortisol, melatonin, along with estrogen, progesterone, like the ones we typically think about. So we're trying to optimize all the hormones. Even insulin's a hormone too. Then, if you'd like, you can have a nutrition audit. So that would be like a one-on-one type call to kind of take an inventory of what you got. All right. So imagine yourself feeling like yourself again. So start surviving, stop surviving, and start thriving.